it's always coming through. And all green is always on the sea. And we're gonna always bring it to life. Singing, so get ready, get ready, don't here they come.
All right, welcome aboard, everybody. You see the green around us. That means it's time to talk New York Jets football and free agency. Man, it is a free agent frenzy out there, not to alliterate or over-alliterate. Today we are presented by our friends at Northeast Roofing Professionals. We'll hear from them in just a little bit. You see their lovely logo right up above us there. Lovely. There you are over there. Thank you, our friends at Northeast Roofing. Well, without further ado, let's bring them in. We talk Jets with them every single week, and this is going to be a ditty today. I sense it. I'm going to be right in the middle of this like the referee. I'm going to be like Mills Lane here. All right, boys? Okay, no low blows. Take it easy. It's Jake Asman from the Jake Asman Show and ESPN Radio in New York. What's up, Jake? How are you?
What's up, Jim? BG, how we feeling?
We're feeling good. He's feeling really good. I want to talk to you about it in intelligent terms here because, I think my colleague, we were doing a live show earlier today, and we broke this down in a lot of different ways. So let me just start. I want to take this somewhere else, but let me just start with your gut reaction to when you heard the Jets are, trading for Geno Smith.
It felt like by the time we actually got the official word or unofficial word with all the tweets and people confirming the deal that this was coming. So I don't think my reaction was like of shock because it felt like it had been out there. Hey, this was the guy they were pursuing. It's kind of crazy if you take a step back and just think Geno Smith's going to be the Jet quarterback in the year 2026. Like it really is nuts if you think about it. I mean, the way his career started and ultimately ended with the Jets, and he goes to your team, Jim, and gets put in for Eli and all the controversy there, and then kind of bounces around and then has some good years in Seattle before last year where the Raiders were a mess and he didn't play well. It's kind of crazy. It's a surreal feeling. He might be the best of their options. If you're realistic, I would have went in a slightly different direction, but I'm not going to lose sleep over getting Geno for the minimum. He's your quintessential bridge QB. I find it ironic that we said, hey, you're looking for the guy to give you the Ryan Fitzpatrick 2015 year. And the only reason that year happened was because Geno Smith got punched out by his own teammate in the first place, which allowed Fitz to play that season.
Now, here's the step further I want to take it, because like I said, we talked about this a lot on our live show, so I want to kind of pick it up where we left off. And where we left off is, okay, I want you to imagine a game of musical chairs, Jake, where everybody who gets a chair gets a quarterback. And here the Jets are. They're circling with all these other teams that are all trying to get their chair at the dance. And here's the thing. If you again, and you kind of said it there, you already intimated it there are only so many chairs, and there's going to be one person likely without a chair. You don't want to be the one without a chair. And considering what the options are, as slim as they are, and you can make a case as you might want to for Kyler Murray or for Kirk Cousins, but do they even want to come and play for the Jets? That's a whole nother thought even beyond that. But the Jets, at least at this point, Jake, have a chair. Okay, they're not going to be the one standing. They have a guy that they can at least move forward with for this season. Should that be comforting to Jets fans? And what's your reaction to that thought?
Yeah, I think they've shown some competency with their overall moves. Like I think there is a real plan in place. I think they've been measured with what they're doing. I think if you expect Geno Smith to be great and lead this team to the playoffs, like I know I was messing with Boy Green on X last night, I think you might be out of your mind, but you could be hopeful. You could be cautiously optimistic. But I'd like the sound strategy of spending to fix the defense, bringing in some professionals who could show the younger players they're going to add in the draft, the ropes and what it takes to be a professional. They needed more leadership. So from like a big picture standpoint, the Jets are a functioning NFL team and roster at this point, and it gives Aaron Glenn an opportunity, who's now calling the defense, to prove whether or not he can coach, because it can't be anywhere close to what it was his first year if he's going to be here for a third year.
Jake, I heard Boomer and Geo were going crazy about this. Specifically, Geo was that he could not believe that the Jets traded for Geno Smith because everything was lining up for them to sign him as a veteran minimum contract at $401 on Wednesday as we're recording the show, that it could have set up for that. But we go to everything that Lurch just said. I'm curious your take. Are you upset at all that they decided to give up 20 slots in a draft, pay a little bit more than veteran minimum? They're paying 3.3 instead of the 1.3. to make this move, but it ensured that they got their guy. I saw Geo and there's several others. I got, we both do shows, Jake, so we get a lot of comments and emails and texts and everything else from people, and I heard other people yelling and saying the same thing. Did you have any beef with it?
No, I didn't care. I mean, again, like the Jets are the bottom of the barrel, so if they felt like they needed to do this to secure Geno, and then they threw in like an extra $1 million to kind of sweeten it as a good faith measure, I got no problem with that. At the end of the day, the Raiders are paying the vast majority of the salary, and there's no long-term financial commitment to Geno besides this 1 year at $3 million and change. So I have no problem with it. I thought the Minka Fitzpatrick deal was smart. You traded the 7th, and then you got him signed. He's a good player. He's from Jersey, still just 29. He is the best safety they've had in years, even if he's not necessarily what he once was. So I have no issue with it at all. I think Muji has to do this because he's trying to restore order to the franchise, and it's going to take some time. But these are the type of moves that you need to make if you're going to try and be able to do what we're talking about them doing, restoring order and being a functioning team that actually has some sort of future we could genuinely be excited about.
All right, Jake, we have a Boy Green Jake sandwich here with some Manchild in the middle here. So I don't know if we'll be going at each other's throats about this, but what do you think is the ceiling of a Geno Smith-led New York Jets team this year? Again, there's free agency still to literally happen, more moves to come. There's the draft coming up. So there's a lot more maneuvers and levers that will be pulled by this Jets team to make this team even more talented. But as they currently stand, sort of what's your gut? In a best case scenario, Geno Smith and AG putting their forces together, fusion, what's the best case scenario here, Jake Asman, for Geno Smith and the Jets?
First off, love the DBZ reference there. Well done. Big fan. Shout out to Dragon Ball Z. I think the ceiling is probably 7 wins, right? I mean, they won 3 last year. Could they go from 3 to 7 if you tell me Geno plays a lot closer to the version he was as last year in Seattle? I could see it. I just still have major concerns with the offensive coaching staff, the head coach in particular. They are certainly improved, but they're in a tough division. The schedule's really tough if you just look at it. And again, things change. I understand all that, but like they won 3 games last year and they looked completely inept. And I'm not just talking about when Brady Cook played. They started 0-7 when they had talent and were trying to win. So I think there's a chance for them to be better, but their win total on FanDuel right now is 5.5 for a reason. So I think that's fair. I think ceiling could be 7, and I think their floor can't be worse than what they were. They probably raised their floor by at least a win. So they're probably between a 4 and 7 win team right now.
Jake, I want to talk to you about a lot of these additions and break them down a little bit. But before we go there, let me talk to you about 4 players who I flagged that were losses. Obviously, Elijah Vera Tucker, we just heard about that. He ends up with the Patriots. John Simpson, the offensive lineman, and then Quincy Williams, and then the kicker, Nick Folk. If you look at that list of 4, which, if any of them, are a big blow, or are you okay with those losses before we get into talking about the gains that the Jets have made?
So I'm totally fine with losing Quincy because that was expected. What frustrates me about that is they should have traded him at the deadline and got something for him. It was so obvious he was not happy here. He was not a scheme fit. He wasn't going to be a part of this team going forward. They already traded his brother. Not trading him at the deadline, I thought, was a rare mistake by Darren Muji, not understanding, an asset at the time. I'm okay with him going, though. I am okay with John Simpson going. I think they got the best out of him. All right, fine. I don't know if I want to pay him $10 million a year when I'm not ready to win necessarily, but now they got to replace him. AVT, I wanted him back. I can't lose sleep over the money he got. Again, the Jets aren't close to winning like New England is. It just stinks he went to the Patriots. That's what hurts more than anything. If he went to the Giants, even then I'd be able to still root for him. They play once every 4 years. But to go to the team I despise more than any other team on the planet, that hurts, especially knowing Morgan Moses is also on that offensive line. So that's a bummer. I'm disappointed there. But honestly, the biggest loss, it's probably Nick Folk. I mean, he was money last year. I mean, ironically, he's the reason why the Jets aren't picking number 1 right now, you could say, because he hit that kick from 56 yards in the rain to beat Atlanta. So he was so good. And the fact that they brought Geno back and they brought back DeMario Davis and they brought back Frank Reich, who's a former Jet, and they brought back Glenn last year, who's a former Jet, and they didn't retain the guy who was actually awesome as a former Jet. That, to me, was a little surprising. Good for Nick Folk, I guess, but I think the Jets, I'll give them the benefit of the doubt with Banjo being a really good special teams coach, and they found their rookie punter a year ago, Austin McNamara, out of nowhere, and he was great. So maybe they can find a kicker equivalent, but that's tough to see because I felt like Nick Folk was going to be brought back and he'd retire a Jet.
As was I. That was going to be one of my follow-ups there, Jake, is that, again, if anyone can be trusted on this team, how could it not be Chris Banjo to find a capable replacement? I mean, shoot, Nick Folk joined us on July 29th. So, like, the Jets had already gone down the road of kicker we thought they were going to go down. They make a late pivot, and Nick Folk has this amazing year. So, if anyone can do it, I imagine ultimately it's Banjo there to find a kicker. Jake, what is the plan at left guard now for the New York Jets? So now it's guaranteed that, you know, the Jets, who started the same 5 offensive linemen from weeks 1 through weeks 18 last year, at least one change will happen, if not 2, depending on what they do with Josh Myers, if there's an upgrade to be had there. What do you want to do at left guard? Because I know there's a lot of Jet fans that say, 16th overall pick, Vega, plug and play, baby. That's the answer. So what is the answer, Jake?
I think they should sign a proven veteran guard and not go into the draft with an obvious hole, so teams can't jump in front of them if they also are targeting the same guard the Jets might be pursuing. Joe Bitonio, I believe, is still a free agent, right? Kevin Zeitler, I think, is still a free agent. Even Greg Van Roten is still a free agent. I would sign a proven veteran and find a way to get that guy signed, sealed, delivered. Maybe he's not necessarily penciled in as a starter. Maybe they were to take Vega in the draft anyway, and then they moved Tippmann back to center, and Vega was best player available, and he's one of your guards. But I don't like having a glaring hole going into the draft, so I think they got to sign someone who, in a worst-case scenario, can be the starter and is not going to be a real liability. Because Myers, I think, is very okay. I think if you have another level of player like Myers, the strength of your O-line, I don't know if it's still a strength if 2 of the 5 guys are slightly below average starters, which is what I think Myers would be, and some of the names that we've suggested for like backup targets. So I think they need to sign a guard. Long answer to your question.
All right, let's talk about some of the additions now. We talked about this defense being rebuilt, Jake. So let's talk about the additions of Asai and Davis coming back. DeMario Davis coming back to the Jets. How do you like those 2 at the top of the food chain there?
You know, I think I love it. I really do. I love bringing DeMario Davis back. He's still playing at a really high level. He's like the Benjamin Button of the NFL, if you think about it. Like, the guy had 140 something tackles last year. He told one of my good friends who covers the New Orleans Saints for the local ABC affiliate that he feels like he's playing the best ball of his career right now. So, like, the fact that he's still that confident, he's still playing the way he is. Yes, he's older, but he's the perfect leader for what they need. Glenn knows him. He'll get these guys to not have the communication problems, to understand how to be adults. Like, again, you're about to add Arvell Reese to your room. You got to put them in a good environment. You're about to add, 3 other players potentially in the top 44. You have 3 ones next year. You have to build a culture that can handle young players. So it's not what we're going through now, where the only player that was drafted in the first or second round from 2021 to 2022 is just Garrett Wilson that's still on this team. So I like what the Jets are doing, getting some real adults in the room. And there's no better example of that or leader of what the Jets desperately needed than DeMario Davis.
Jake, one of my favorite free agent signings for the New York Jets is the acquisition of Nahshon Wright. He was a Pro Bowl corner last year for the Chicago Bears, 6'4", a lot to like, and they got him on a 1-year deal for $5.5 million maximum value. And he's had sort of a weird career, Jake. Prior to this season that he just had with the Bears in 2025, he has 3 total starts across the first 4 years of his career. So it's a weird journey for the young man, but obviously the production speaks for itself. 5 picks, couple of forced fumbles, couple of fumble recoveries, 5 of those in total along with his picks. Man, competition with Azareye'h Thomas. I love this move. Again, one of my favorites.
Yeah, I think you nailed it, right? Great value. I mean, the fact that they got a guy who was around that Bears defense that forced so many turnovers, and the Jets' biggest issue is they didn't force any. I love it. I mean, he's still an ascending player. I think he's a guy that certainly can compete for one of the starting corner jobs. You love the length that he has. And again, what's not to like about a 1-year deal for under $6 million for a guy who could challenge one of your young players that you think will be a starter for you, but you don't want to just hand him the job. I think that's good stuff all around by the Jets. Give credit to Glenn and Muji for that signing for sure.
Jake, another addition. We had to check his name. Kingsley Enagbare from the Green Bay Packers. What can you tell us about this player? This is a guy I don't know much about.
Yeah, Kingsley's a guy that I got to be honest, I didn't know a ton about either. He seems like he's like a hustle guy. He's a guy that could give you some pass rush juice. He's had 17 quarterback hits and 6.5 sacks as a situational rusher the last couple of years in Green Bay. He's someone that I think kind of just fits their scheme. He's an upgrade over some of the other defensive ends they've ran out there, like Micheal Clemons for example, and some of the other UDFAs that have been playing some serious snaps, like Eric Watts, another name that the Jet fan has had to suffer through. I think he's a guy that kind of just raises the floor of some of the edge depth that the Jets desperately needed to go with Will McDonald. I believe they're going to take an edge defender at 2. So whether it's Reese or Bailey, they'll be in the mix. And then you, of course, now have added to your defense with some of these free agent signings as well. And I wouldn't be surprised if they doubled up on that position in the draft.
And by the way, the only thing I was just going to throw in here is Joe Bartle. Me and you know him quite well, Lurch, and Jake. He is a fantasy football guru by trade, but a Green Bay Packers season ticket holder. I was in the middle of 12 signings on day one, but I saw Joe texted me as soon as Enagbari joined the Jets. He says, "You're going to love Enagbari. Legitimately bummed we lost him." And I said, "Oh, well, tell me all about him. Come on, give me the deets." And he said he's a terrific run defender. He thinks he's one of the best edge run defenders in the National Football League. Heart, explosiveness. He rushes with power. And he says when you're building a defensive line rotation, you just want one of those guys who never gives an inch against a run. It can be a pass rusher in a pinch if need be. So high praise from a Packers season ticket holder that saw him often.
No, I love that a lot. That's a great breakdown. And again, it just kind of fits exactly, what the Jets need to try and flip this defense around. So that's good news.
Talking with our Jets insider, Jake Asman. It's at MC Show Digital. Don't forget to pop that subscribe button. Today, we are presented by our friends at Northeast Roofing Professionals. We'll hear a little bit more about our friends at Northeast. And then when we come back, I'm going to ask you, Jake, why the heck the Jets are pilfering the Giants roster? What do they think they are? Brian Dable? We'll get to that when we return. Stick around.
Finding the right local roofing company can be tricky. You don't want to hire the wrong roofers, or you could end up spending a fortune on repairs. The pros at Northeast Roofing Professionals can ensure your home is protected by a strong and sturdy roof. Locally owned and operated, over 30 years experience, free estimates, and competitively priced. Don't settle for an inexperienced roofing contractor. Turn to Northeast Roofing Professionals. Discounts for military and first responders. Reach out and let them put a sturdy roof over your head. NERPCNY.com. NERPCNY.com.
All right, we are back talking all things Jets with Jake Asman, our Jets insider. And the Giants have had an interesting relationship here with the Ravens now that they have the former Ravens head coach, and the Giants have done some pilfering. Brian Dable, who is the former head coach of the Giants, who went to the Titans now, is, as their offensive coordinator, has been pilfering Giants players. But now the Jets are getting in on this game. Dane Belton is a Jet now? I mean, I don't know what to think about that. Give me your thoughts on that acquisition by the Jets.
Well, I feel like I need your thoughts, because what I've heard from my Giant fan friends, Jim, is that, he could be a nice, solid depth piece. He's an excellent special teams player. Again, the Jets had some of the worst safety play in the league last year. So just raising the floor of that unit and getting more depth on that side of the ball was a must. So I think it's a good move. You could tell me more about the player, watching him every snap of every game like you do, but I feel like he's a nice rotational piece for a young secondary that added a clear-cut veteran to it in Minka. You have Malachi Moore going into his second year, and I think Dane Belton could probably compete for the safety job. Moore probably wins it, if I had to guess, or maybe the Jets draft the safety with one of their picks that's in that battle. But I like the depth signing from that standpoint, and it's only a one-year commitment.
Yeah, well, ever since the Giants have let go of Xavier McKinney, I mean, anybody that let go in the safety thing concerns me, although maybe with pick number 5, they might pick a really good safety. We'll see. We certainly some thought that the Giants could take Caleb Downs with that pick, so we'll see how that all plays out. Maybe that's part of the reason they were willing to let a guy like Belton go. Yeah, Belton's a nice rotational piece. He is a really good special teams player, but I think he's a serviceable safety, and he certainly could play in a pinch, especially if someone went down, and you can somewhat trust him. So, I'm not heartbroken that he's gone, but I guess I'm a little surprised that the Giants, who don't have depth at the moment at that position, would let a guy like that go. So I think he'll be a nice piece for the Jets.
Yeah. And just to jump in here, I saw that according to PFF, he had the lowest missed tackle rate in the NFL. So, he's a sure tackler. Oh, that's everything the Jets need, right, Jake?
I mean, basically every player they've added defensively, almost by accident, can't be worse than what we just witnessed. So it sounds good to me.
Jake, are the Jets done at defensive tackle? They trade for Tefondre Sweat, David Onimata, who has a special relationship with Aaron Glenn. They had Harrison Phillips. They make sure Jawan Briggs comes out. Those are 4 players that are clearly making this 53-man roster and more. Are they done?
I think they could be. I mean, you look at some of the moves that they have made, you kind of ran through it. Now, could they add someone in the draft? For sure, but I wouldn't expect a big-time free agent acquisition at this point. Kind of feels like we've gotten through that first wave of signings. They could sign some guys maybe to 1-year kind of prove it deals. They did that a lot last year. Remember the Byron Cowarts of the world and some of the other 1-year contracts they handed out? Like those guys could be brought in. They're fighting for a roster spot in training camp, but I'd be a little surprised if they made another notable defensive tackle addition because they had Briggs, they had Phillips, they signed Onyemata, and then they obviously made the Sweat deal with the Jermaine Johnson trade. So I think they're kind of set up front, at least in that position on the defensive line.
Let me ask you about wide receiver. It looks like it was one of those situations, if you've ever been at one of those meet and greets when you're single and you can meet a lot of ladies that you don't have interest and they don't have interest. When you look at the wide receivers that were available in free agency, like Mike Evans wasn't coming here with all due respect to us. Alec Pierce wasn't coming here with all due respect to us. We didn't have quarterback figured out. So I didn't see the free agent splash at wide receiver. Not that the Jets don't need it, but that it didn't make sense. But what about trade where someone has no choice? There's been a ton of rumors about Brian Thomas Jr. Let me throw this at you, Jake. You tell me how you feel about it. And would you be willing? I would, to give up the 44th overall pick. Jacksonville, you want to reset and you want to break up with BTJ? No problem. 44th overall, whoosh, slap a cent to the Jacksonville Jaguars and let's make this deal happen. You in, Jake?
I would do it if it's just pick 44 as like the headliner in the deal. My only question is, why is he available after he was so good as a rookie? Is he just not a scheme fit anymore? I know he had a case of the drops last year, but it feels like Washington kind of leapfrogged him in the pecking order there, which is crazy. Plus they did trade up for Travis Hunter, supposed to be this two-way player. So I'm a little weary of just why he'd be available. You just don't see guys this early on in their careers be on the trade block who had the success that he had after the first year. But if it just took a second, pick 44, you do have 2 seconds for a reason. I think that's a reasonable swing for the Jets to attempt if they want to go down that path.
All right, here's my last one for you here, Jake, with everything the Jets have done. Again, more to come in free agency. There's going to be waves of it where the Jets make a couple of additions. Has your mind changed at all what to do with the second overall pick, the 16th overall pick, and I guess dabble in the second round if you also have been affected by anything the Jets have done? Or are the Jets doing exactly the same thing you think in the draft right now on March 11th that they would have done a month ago?
So I still think their plan is to take a pass rusher. I think it's going to be Arvell Reese, second overall. I think at 16, they've now allowed themselves, depending on what they do with interior offensive line, to maybe go best player available or to truly take, the top guard that they think is worthy of that number 16 pick. I don't love the idea of taking a guard, but all the draft gurus say that, the Vega kid from Penn State is worth it. Okay. I think that he is certainly in play. I think based on the lack of receiver additions to this point, 16 could certainly be a wide receiver. And look, we got to have the Ty Simpson conversation. I think he's in play at 16. I certainly think if he's there at 33, the Jets would take a swing on him, when they can maybe move back into the end of round 1 if they want to secure him. And maybe they're a little concerned Arizona at pick 34 of round 2 would take him, because I don't think the Cardinals have their long-term answer at quarterback figured out. Malik Willis didn't go there. So I just think as you look at the moves that were made by not just the Jets, but by other teams, the Jets, I think, are in a very unique spot where it's going to be defense, I believe, at 2, but based on how they've handled free agency, 16, 33, and 44, it would not shock me if all 3 of those players were offensive picks when it's all said and done.
Well, Jake, many more moves to come. Free agency still very much going down. And, of course, all those draft picks for the Jets. What will they do in the draft? We're a little more than a month away. It's going to be a blast.
Actually,
what?
Let's just get breaking news can always happen here on the show, Jake. And I don't know if this is going to break your heart or what. Oh, no. So I just want to get your last thoughts on this.
No.
There's been another loss.
Carson Wentz. Don't tell me it's Carson Wentz.
It's not.
Okay.
It's a loss. It's a loss for the Jets. Micheal Clemons to the Indianapolis Colts on a 3-year deal for $17.5 million with $18.5 million max value. That just breaking. Micheal Clemons to the Colts. Your thoughts?
Great news. Great news. We are free. Free at last. Yes. Jets. Jets. Thank God. I can't do any more Clemons. God bless the Colts. And you know what's awesome about this move too? The Jets had the Colts first round pick. So we could hate watch Micheal Clemons for real this time, and it won't actually hurt us as Jet fans. I love it.
Like I said, we live in a constantly changing world. Jake Asman, always appreciate the time, my friend. Take care of yourself.
You're the man, Lurch, PG. Let's go Jets. Appreciate you guys.